Thulasizwe Simelane says misinformation and fake news remain a key concern for the country. She has called for South Africans to be vigilant about what they share on social media.
Misinformation and fake news remain a key area of concern, as we have seen some of the pictures which are circulating, and these ministers here, we will talk to that matter. We appeal to South Africans to be vigilant in sharing and posting all false messages.
So what is the minister talking about? Well, in the context of the violence that we have seen in parts of South Africa, especially in Gauteng, violence that has involved foreign nationals and migrants in many instances, you have seen some information that has been put out there purporting to be representing the situation, or perhaps presented as an alert of something, a situation developing, only to find out actually that's not the case when you dig a little bit deeper. So I want to show you two videos very quickly. The first one that's been circulating, let's have a look at it and I'll tell you about it in a moment. So let's pause it there and show you. This is a video that's been circulated in many parts of the country, purporting to be a burning building in South Africa during the course of this violence that we have seen, and people presenting it in various parts of the world. In fact, it's been flagged beyond our borders. But actually, the investigation into that video showing that it's a video that comes from a fire that had taken place in India some months ago. And that's really the peril of it all. It's not the only instance, of course. There was a situation where Panyaza Lesotho had to respond to a situation in Katlehong where it was said there was going to be retaliation of sorts by foreign nationals living in South Africa. And there was a report about a school being on fire, only to find out that that school was actually intact. There was absolutely no fire there. But now let me show you what actually has been happening in South Africa. Fake news versus real news. So that's the situation, the difference between facing your ugly reality in the eye and saying, actually, South Africa, we have a problem, this is happening on our streets, versus peddling what is absolutely not true. For more on this, then, I'm joined by Chris Louw, who is the head of commercial context at Caxton Community Newspapers. So let me talk to Chris. Chris, thank you so much for coming through. And the situation around fake news, we're facing these warnings from the government, really, about it. What are the perils of fake news in a context as tense as we have seen, as fraught as we have seen recently, and as violent as we have seen recently?
So I think a very important point to make just from the start is that I would implore people to move away from calling it fake news. News can't be fake. It's impossible for it to be fake. News is news. So what we'd like people to refer to it as is rather disinformation and misinformation. Disinformation being the deliberate sort of spreading of information with an intent, and we can talk about the intent a little bit later. And then you have misinformation. So misinformation is just getting it wrong, right? So maybe there's a big truck accident and we say 7 people died, and later on it comes out that there's 9 people or 10 people that have died. That would be an example of misinformation. The reason I started my sort of response in that way is that the people that are producing fake news and the people that use, so Donald Trump, that use news that they don't like as a means to then say or shout from the rooftops, fake news, Fake news does not belong to us as the media. It belongs to the people that are producing this information. So just around the government warnings. So the minister is saying, let's be vigilant. What does that mean?
Yeah.
For me, that doesn't really go far enough, because when I'm being vigilant, what does it mean to be vigilant? The average consumer in South Africa, I'm certainly not a forensic expert in analyzing videos, but I can see in that video that you've just shown me that there is Hindi written all over that building. I don't think there are too many buildings in South Africa with that amount of Hindi written on it. Maybe some areas that you'll go into, Lenasia, Chatsworth, etc., maybe you'll find that. But what we need to understand is that these videos and these sort of touch points speak to our emotions straight away.
Yeah.
Schools, are our kids safe? Xenophobia speaks to so many different touch points that we have in a country where our emotions are heightened all the time anyway, because there's a them and an us, a black and a white, and then you throw a Nigerian and a Malawian, and it starts growing and growing. So I think during these times when our emotions are so heightened, that's when people need to just pause a little bit more when they are seeing things. And maybe looking at that video once, twice, 3 times, rather than seeing it once, what do we do?
You share it.
Share.
And you respond. And
you want to be the WhatsApp hero of the day. You want
Yeah.
your friends to go, whoa, I can't believe you sent this to me, because, you know, you get a little bit of street cred for sharing something so hectic. Now, if I had to compare those 2 videos, the people jumping out the building and the real video that you showed me afterwards, the second one was kind of boring, right? Compared to the first one where there's fire, people jumping out. I mean, you're just waiting for almost like Bruce Willis to be running in there with a gun, kind of saving people. That's what we need to understand with fake news. Fake news is here in terms of its consumability, but it is here in terms of its truth.
Sure.
People are going to share things that are sensational, that look crazy, that look hectic. But what we need to be mindful of is that those are specifically the ones we need to interrogate more as consumers of these products. The world has changed in terms of content distribution. You know, as journalists, we're seen as gatekeepers. I look at that video and I go, it didn't happen here, get it off my desk. I'm not going to put this on my newspaper or my website. But the average South African who's got a Facebook account.
And the pressure usually is, why are you censoring this? Why are you not showing this? Meanwhile, you are interrogating it and you are making the decision that actually peddling this would be peddling disinformation or misinformation, as you characterize it.
What we need to understand is that unlike this studio that we're sitting in, which used to be one of the only ways that you could get a message out there 20, 30, 40 years ago, now everyone has a camera, everyone can shoot a video, and anyone can share it, and anyone can say anything they want about it. Oh, this happened in Limpopo. How do I know if it happened in Limpopo as a consumer if I wasn't actually there? So who are you following on social media? What are you doing when you see fake news or disinformation? Not enough people are reporting those types of things. And, you know, I'd like to think that if enough people can make something go viral, surely enough people can make something die down as it should. By reporting those things to whatever platform you're on, so if it's Facebook or Twitter, you need to report that this is false news, and they have that functionality now.
I don't know if you have engaged with sort of trying to analyze the tone of those who share this mis or disinformation. What is the purpose from the patterns? What is the usual purpose that you pick up? Is it to warn and alert that actually, watch out guys, don't go in that direction because this is happening, or to cause sensation and cause outrage? So is it you know, good intent with the result that perhaps it's misplaced a little bit, or is it bad intent?
More often than not, I would say that the intent is good. In fact, I would say that there is neither a good or a bad intent. There is just some kind of intent to say, well, I'd like people to know about this. And what we're seeing more and more is that people are becoming more aware of disinformation, and that they're saying, I don't know if this is true. But the problem is that most people take it as the truth because, hey, they got it on WhatsApp. I mean, surely, you know, it's my friend, my mom won't lie to me. So if you look at, for example, community groups, of which there are so many, neighborhood groups, complex groups, etc., what you'll find is that the people, they don't have a sort of a negative intent or nefarious intent in sending that. And often, like you say, it could be a good intent to say, hey guys, watch out, this is happening. But the problem is that the person who's the originator of that message on that specific group has not done their homework at all. They have not gone back and done their homework in terms of finding out where this actually comes from, which year it comes from. And that's what I would implore everyone to look for in a video like that. Look for a date stamp, look for some time, look for a license plate, look for some writing, see if it's in the language that you know.
In fact, as you talk about that, let's pull that up. We asked you beforehand to supply us with some guide and guidelines. So if you can pull that up in terms of what you shared with us for some of the things to look out for in as far as trying to ascertain the context of some of the images you are viewing. Google reverse image search, how useful is that?
It's extremely useful. So in a context like the xenophobia that we're experiencing at the moment, you would see lots of images. So we can take one of the videos that's been doing the rounds, for example, of a Nigerian man being burned to death. And that being a portion to xenophobia, when what it was mob justice a few months ago. It was in January, actually, of this year, where that Nigerian individual was caught with his friend and he got burnt to death. So if we take that as a still image and you insert it into Google's reverse image search, then you are able to find out where that image actually came from, rather than the context that your friend, your mother, your father, or your Facebook acquaintance or your Twitter follow has actually posted that to you as.
All right, let's see the second one. I think it also has to do with Google reverse, in fact, guide to fact-checking photos. This one talks about when was the picture first used, what is the context in which it was used, what are the people wearing. Yeah, you see those things about what are the people wearing.
Yes.
That talks to you now almost being applying a bit of forensics to it, right?
Absolutely. I think that anybody can apply some forensics. We all have eyes and we can all see outside when we go to the shop.
Includes the weather, for example.
Exactly. So, you know, on a day that you know that it was sunny in Joburg and you're seeing an image from today where there's cloud, surely that's one of the first things that's going to raise some kind of alarm bells in your head. You know, what we often do, we'll get sent all kinds of things, right? And we've got to figure out where's this coming from. So look for things like, yes, the weather. That list could be endless. Look for a telephone number. Look for a license plate. Once you've got a telephone number, Google the telephone number. If you find that it doesn't exist, then you need to start asking yourself questions. And we do this on a regular basis, and that's probably why journalists should be trusted with these types of things. Ask your journalist friend. Ask someone who you know that's in the media. They will quickly be able to provide you with some guidance. So that list could be really extensive. Numbers, clothing, weather, the types of cars, all kinds of things.
Chris Louw, thank you so much for coming through. Chris Louw is head of commercial context at Caxton Community Newspapers, with some really helpful tips there about how to navigate the muddied and perilous waters of mis and disinformation, as he characterizes it.